All right, everybody, welcome back. Here we go. Week 12
12.
overall. Week 10 for our teams, as everybody's mostly 9-1 or 8-1, whatever. Great week in the SEC in terms of our teams playing and the performances that we put on the field. It was belt to ass across the landscape of the football chop world. So Georgia put it on Mississippi State. Alabama put it on LSU, regardless of what the box score says. And then there was a surprise performance that we're going to cover. And then this week, we've got some pretty big games coming up. In terms of the Georgia-Mississippi State game, Justin, I watched this game. I think I watched the first half of it, and then we were headed off to Tuscaloosa. But in the first half, I thought Georgia was playing with its food probably for the first 3 drives at the most. Mississippi State went down and scored. And then Georgia started taking over like that. And I think at the end of the first half, it was 17-3 or whatever it was right there. It was not really very close, which I knew at that point it's going to blow open. So Georgia looked stout across the lines of scrimmage. They controlled the ball. They were able to run the football. The defensive backs were able to hold up pretty well against a passing attack in Jeff Levy's Bulldogs. And, Georgia took care of business as we thought they would. And overall, good game. I want to hear your thoughts. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it. But, let me know what you thought, what you think.
Yeah, easily our best game of the season so far. That was a complete performance from both our offense and defense. I thought defensively, C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, just to name a few guys, really had an impressive showing this past Saturday. They were flying all over the field, making plays, making tackles. K.J. Bolden even had a chance to make a few plays, which was great to see. Getting some turnovers, getting some sacks on the quarterback. So I was really pleased at what I saw defensively, especially in the first half, which has not been our strong suit at all, as we've talked about at length. But yeah, to have a 24 lead at the half was, I was doing jumping jacks, man. I was so happy to see our team respond that way because they really haven't shown up in the first half of any game this season. And obviously I'm excluding, the Marshall game and Austin Peay. So this was the chance for us to play against a quality opponent on the road, a scary team that we, have talked about a lot this year. And I mean, even folks on game day were saying that this was a trap game for Georgia. For us to have silenced that and really walked away with a dominant performance, a dominant win was phenomenal to see. I thought offensively, we looked as good as, we've looked all season. Noah Thomas having a huge play, just making people miss and, taking it the distance. There were so many chunk plays that we were able to get in this game. Nate Frazier having his best game of his career by far. I was so happy for him, man. Nobody roots for that kid more than me. I am seriously, I'm so happy for him to have that kind of day, that kind of performance. 180 something yards on 12 carries is just insane. So that was awesome. Gunner did his thing. We got a lot of guys involved in the game. A little bummed that we didn't go to Elias more than we did, other than just the one catch he had. That guy's a freak. We need to get him the ball more. But no, I thought that it was a complete game. And I will say this for Mississippi State fans. Your future is bright at the quarterback position with Camario Taylor. That dude, I was seeing signs in the stands that said, start Camario, start Camario. Absolutely. They should have started Camario. That guy, as soon as he came in, it was a brand new wrinkle for their offense. And not only is he like a physical freak, he just added a different layer to that offense that we weren't really seeing when Shapen was in. And it provided a huge spark. He was responsible for all of their touchdowns, I believe, in the game. So, yeah, that dude is going to be a stud in the years to come. Kind of reminds me of what Van Buren did against us last year. And, obviously he's at LSU. So just wanted to throw that out there that I saw a lot of promise from that kid. When he entered the game, when they kind of took Shapen out, his day was over. He was getting beat up. And they brought him in, and man, we were having a tough time taking him to the ground because he's a big guy. Now, Mississippi State fans have a lot to look forward to with that kid.
Yeah, and we talked about earlier in the week that we didn't really actually know who their next option was at quarterback. Obviously, that's exposed itself to who their next option is at quarterback, which is great because he's definitely a young kid. Because if he was an older transfer or whatever, we'd have known about him or whatever. So, yeah, like you say, Jeff Levy's got all the momentum in the world headed into next year. I know that this season is not translating into wins like he wants to, but he's already tripled his or doubled his win total from last year, and he's staying competitive in these games like we talk about every week. And we're trying to speak the Mississippi State success into existence, which is well deserved for those people. And great game by Georgia though, taking over and establishing that you do have the better talent, you do have the better roster. You're more physical up front. You're more talented up front. You're more talented on the defensive side, the back end, the whole 9 yards. So handling business is always great, especially this late in the year, and especially against a team like Mississippi State that is known at least this year for giving teams quite a sweat. So great overall. Next game we want to talk about is the game we were at in Tuscaloosa. Fantastic. It's Alabama LSU. Anything can happen. I don't care what the records are. I don't care what anybody says. The people on TikTok were giving me shit about the video that I posted at the very end of the Alabama game where it's like, hey, you beat a 5-4 LSU team. Well, if the 5-4 LSU team would have beat Alabama that night, then it'd be a totally different comment, right? It's this and that. It's still Alabama LSU is still a rivalry game. There's crazier stuff that's happened in those games, and it's still another win against the Bayou Trash, and I love it. I live for it. It makes my year. We had a great time. It was fantastic, man. The atmosphere in there was absolutely incredible. I don't know what the decibel level was yet. I looked it up today to try to compare it to something, but that data is not available yet. But all I can tell you is when I walked out of there and got in the car when it was good and quiet, my ears had a hollow sound to them. I mean, it was absolutely electric. We gave them 7 procedure penalties on the night, most of them false starts and whatnot. So the crowd came and showed up. The offense was not very sharp in the game. I will say that was a grumble win, as Josh Pate would put it. That's a grumble win. We did not run the ball very well. We could not get very much push up front across the lines of scrimmage. Ty was not very sharp and accurate with his passes. Defensively, I thought we played outstanding. The passes that Nussmeier did account for, he was 18 of 21 for 173-ish yards, somewhere around there. No touchdowns. Those were all 3-yard passes on the dump off because we were getting just severe pressure. And that's what I like to see, man. We had I think 3 sacks in the game. We had 1 strip sack against Van Buren, who came in to try to give LSU a spark in the second half. It was not meant to be. Of those 21 LSU was 23 of 32 passing. So Van Buren had 5 passes complete out of that whole total. So it was great to see, man. Defensive played their ass off. The defensive guys were awesome. The defensive line played outstanding. They were able to get severe pressure. Kane Womack was dialing it up. Offensively, not very sharp. However, again, what it proves is we're playing close to the sun with some of these games, but at the same time, we're proving that while we don't bring our best game the last couple of weeks, we still find a way to win by double digits. And that's the best sign right there, because LSU is still a good team. You're going to hear me admit it. They're still a good team defensively. They still got talent. They still have athletes. They still have all the tools across the board to be able to be a really, really good football team. And the only total that we did not win in is the time of possession. So, in my opinion, belt to ass to the LSU people. They were telling me it wasn't, but I watched it. It was. We dominated that game. So it was great to see, man. It was an absolute blast. Loved it. Had a great time. And, another win against LSU. So, yeah, I'll take it.
I think first thing I wanted to comment on was just, you talking about this is a rivalry game. Doesn't matter what their record is. This is exactly what I was talking about last week coming off of the win against Florida. Not very good team, obviously, but it's still a rivalry game. You're going to get the best out of that opponent every single year. And to your point, it's like anything could happen. So if LSU were to win that game, we'd be sitting here talking about, see, anything can happen. It's a rivalry game. They treat that as, their Super Bowl every year. So, no, I completely agree with that. However, I will disagree with you that LSU is a good team. They are not a good football team. But that's not to take anything away from Alabama's dominant performance. It's just LSU is not a good team. And
Offensively, I'll be more specific. Offensively, they're not a good football team. Defensively, they still have the pieces, right? Yeah.
I agree. Like, defensively is going to be the bright spot for LSU this season. When we look back on 2025, and when we ring in the new year with this LSU team, that is going to be the lone highlight, because offensively, this might be one of the most inept teams I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was
I
just
agree.
unbelievable what was happening on Saturday. Like, they could move the ball with ease relatively when they were, starting on their side of the field and pushing it all the way down inside the red zone, right? Where it looked like they were going to score. And here's the thing that I kept thinking is, if you played that game back for, like, you knew the outcome, you knew when to like play the game and then basically stop it and play it, stop it. If you did that for somebody that didn't happen to watch the game, they'd be like, well, from what you showed me, LSU probably won the game by like multiple scores and shocked Alabama. And I'd be like, yeah, you're right to think that. However, here's what I didn't show you. Every time they got into the red zone, it was all the procedure penalties. It was just shoot yourself in the foot 101. I couldn't believe how just lethargic and inept they looked whenever they got inside the red zone. It was like, all right, you're here now, go capitalize. Why are you incapable of doing what you had just done to get in that position? It was a real head shaker. And if you're an LSU fan, I mean, you could see it when they were panning around to the fans that were inside the stadium, and they were just like, what are we doing? And I felt for them in that moment. I was like, you guys have had your opportunities. Now, granted, a lot of that is in part to what Alabama was doing from, a scheme perspective, making, LSU uncomfortable. But I mean, you can't expect to march down the field, get inside the red zone, have all these procedure penalties, or, being incapable of converting on third down and expect to win the game. You're just not going to do that, especially on the road against a really good team in Alabama. So LSU only has themselves to blame. Nussmeier, he doesn't have it. The guy is not a good quarterback this year. Anybody that says that he is kidding themselves. I really believe that they should have probably put Van Buren in much sooner. I think that similarly to what we kind of saw the Georgia game against Kamario Taylor, he just offers up a different wrinkle at that position that Nussmeier simply doesn't have. If his strong suit is throwing the football, right, and pushing the ball downfield, what did he do while he was in the game that gave you the confidence to go, no, he's going to be our guy for the entirety of the game? I just think that they probably should have brought Van Buren in much sooner to just mix it up. But again, credit to Alabama, great win, strong win, where, this could have been a trap game. I know you were certainly thinking this was one, you got to circle because it's LSU. And, I do agree with you that the final score is really not indicative of how much you guys were in control of the game.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, they were killing us on those little dump off passes because they were hitting them to the slot backs and the wide receivers, and they were getting behind the linemen and just making space on their own and getting, 10, 12, 15 yards. And, it's like, what are we doing? It's like, well, we have 6 guys upfield and the rest of them are playing the pass backwards. And when you make one move behind a lineman, you create space for yourself to where there's nothing there. That's what they were doing. Now, we knew that we didn't really know what they were going to bring in the game. And I told my dad before the game, I was like, look, expect first half fireworks from those guys. Right. They're going to try to throw all this different stuff. We'll adjust. It'll be a fine. We'll shut them down, and then it'll be no big deal. And that is kind of what happened. They were hitting a lot of dink and dunk stuff. And then when Van Buren came in the game, which I agree with you was late, because he does bring when he came into the game, you saw our defense, with the exception of the one pass rush where we did strip sack him there in the fourth quarter, we were backing up just a hair, right? We're not bringing 5 and 6 guys every play, because if you lose contain on a dude like that, he's gonna eat you up. So we were backing up just a hair. It does bring a different element, but that's credit to the back end, not letting that guy use his arm and throw the ball down the field and make those chunk plays and the running yard.
And I want to add a quick comment to that, is that I think most people just assume, that haven't watched a lot of Van Buren play, he's not just a mobile quarterback. He can throw the ball.
Definitely throw the football.
Well. And I mean, personally, from what I've seen, I think he is more accurate than Nussmeier. I'm just talking about this season, right? Like,
oh yeah, no doubt, yeah.
The anomaly season for Nussmeier, like it's a disappointment year for him.
Yeah.
So that's why I was kind of saying, like, for LSU, you probably would have wanted to bring Van Buren in much sooner into that game, but I just wanted to add.
I'd have almost started him, to be honest with you, because when Nussmeier is in the game, he's a very planted quarterback. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to bring 5 to 7 rushers. He's not, if he does get out of the pocket, you're going to give up 4 yards and you're going to be able to close the gap on the speed. And he's flat-footed, man. That's where he stays, is in the pocket. That's where he throws from. And, we beat the shit out of him just like everybody else did. We had him on the run all night long.
That's what I was going to say is after a season of just taking, brutal hits every single game, that wears on you. And so by this point in the season, even though, like you said, he is flat-footed in the pocket, like when you get pressure and you're seeing that, you're recognizing that if you're Nussmeier, like your ability to take off and at least try to evade one tackle isn't probably what it would have been in week 2 or week 3 when you haven't taken as many hits. But like at this point of the season, man, he's just so beat up. It's like this season's a wash. So, go sit down, appreciate it, valiant effort, but we're going to go ahead and, hand this over to Van Buren.
Well, I kind of, we're going to halfway skip all the middle analysis and throwing stories out or whatever in the middle of this, because I do want to segue that into this week's game with Arkansas, and is the fact that you've benched Nussmeier in 2 straight games. He has not finished a fourth quarter in 2 weeks. Kelly benched him whenever they went and played at. The new coach has benched him when they played Alabama because there was nothing happening. It's boring. It's vanilla. That whether you have Joe Sloan or you have the guy from FSU, everybody seems like they're extremely limited with what that guy can do, which is absolutely astounding. We talked about the regression of Carson Beck last year at length. It was every week we were talking kind of, each week he was making more and more mistakes. It's more interceptions. It's more this, it's more that. And while Nussmeier hasn't necessarily thrown a ton of interceptions over this year, however, his game manager ability has decreased by a ton. I mean, when that guy's in the game, dude, it's open season on his ass and everybody else's. Yeah, and that to me is a regression, right? Because if you have a quarterback that can hurt you down the field and can withstand the pressure and stand in the pocket, make the throws with confidence, and he's got just 10-pound balls on him where it doesn't matter how many you bring in, I'm going to hit the throw, that affects the defense at some point to where you can say he's managing the game and what the defense is giving him. And Nussmeier has, from the Clemson game to now, it's a 180, man. It's here to here because he's a Heisman candidate coming out of Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina, to now going, dude, you might be lucky to get drafted in the 3rd round. I mean, it's actually astounding.
I mean, again, I'm just going, if you're an NFL scout, you're going to have to pull from the 2024 season because the tape in 2025 for Nussmeier has been atrocious. Coming into this year, it was all about his ability to throw the long ball, down the sideline, super accurate, beautiful pass, right? Where has that been this year? I mean, he is sailing balls over his receivers. And that shouldn't be happening, especially when your O-line is already suspect. So if you do have time and you're still overthrowing guys by like 3 or 4 yards, it's not good. That basically validates what we're talking about, which is you are not a very good quarterback.
Zero confidence in his throws. I mean, that's what it is. He's just scared to death of anything. And I mean, I don't blame him.
Sync with his receivers and sync with the offense as a whole.
I don't blame him. I mean, if how they do the PFP stuff every year, it's who was the most sacked quarterback in in the NFL, and then who NFC and all that stuff. And if you're looking at who was the most sacked quarterback in the conference, it has to probably go Jackson Arnold, and Oklahoma takes care of a lot of that stat line. And then you go Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, who took the biggest beating of the year? And it's him. I mean, his offensive line's terrible. That goes without saying, but at the same time, I mean, if you're a 1st round NFL franchise quarterback, as they were touting you up to be, Those guys play through bad offensive lines all the time. I mean, you look at Jackson Dart, and then you look at a couple of these guys that are making success in the NFL. They play with terrible offensive lines, and were still able to generate stats as they went throughout the year. And he's not generating any damn thing.
No.
So I say all that to say, this week against Arkansas, we can go ahead and make our picks and predictions, whatever. But if I am the interim head coach for LSU, I am 100% starting Michael Van Buren at quarterback. I know that you have the loyalty factor of Nussmeier, and he wears number 18. He's a senior, blah, 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 blah. If you want to win a game as an interim quarterback at LSU, or a interim head coach at LSU, you need to start Michael Van Buren, because he brings that wrinkle that will ultimately back Arkansas off. Because I can guarantee you something. Arkansas was watching that game from Saturday. Arkansas is going to bring 5 and 6 guys a play. They're going to pressure the hell out of Garrett Nussmeier. The offensive line is going to collapse, and the dude is going to take a beating again for the 10th week in a row.
Yeah.
How long can you sustain that kid to where he finally goes, guys, look, I don't have nothing left to give you. I'm so beat to shit. I can't lift my arms. I can't throw. I'm not injured from an MRI or an X-ray standpoint, but I can't function. Put somebody else in the game, and that's what I would do. Play Van Buren.
I'll be shocked if they do start Van Buren and he plays the whole game, but I would hope that they would bring him in earlier than we've seen thus far, which has been in the second half.
Late in the fourth quarter, right, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that they give Nussmeier a few drives, hope that, he can do something against a lesser opponent, which is Arkansas, but an opponent that you have to keep pace with, because they can go and score with anybody. So if he doesn't show out in those first few drives, then yeah, as the interim head coach, I've got to go to Van Buren to give myself a chance to win a game here, because if we lose this one, it feels like the wheels are coming off. I mean, it already feels like they've lost a couple, but the whole thing gets derailed if they lose against Arkansas, which, yeah, I mean, do we go ahead and make our pick? I feel like that's going to be a rock fight game. To quote you love to use that phrase.
Yep, I do.
It's like an ugly, ugly game. But where is it? Is it in Arkansas or is it in Baton Rouge? I think it's in Baton Rouge.
Let me look here really quickly. That's the only, I think that's, out of the 3 games that we're going to pick tonight, that's probably the only thing I didn't look at was location of the ball game. And it is in Death Valley.
Yeah.
But there again, it's 12:45 in the afternoon. I know that, think what you will about Death Valley. I think that Death Valley is
Arkansas win the game.
Okay, and so LSU is a 5.5 point favorite, right, in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're generating that from. It's probably because they're playing from the same hand, right? The same dealers dealt the same cards to Arkansas as it has LSU. You got both interim head coaches now. While if you're taking a edge over the interim coach spot, Arkansas has got that 100% now.
Yeah.
Bobby Petrino being your interim head coach compared to Fox, I can't remember his first name, but that's the 2 guys that you have. From a roster standpoint, that might be where they come up with the spread, and then a home game for LSU and all that good stuff. Now, there was a sense of belief from the LSU guys before the Alabama game. I've seen the little clips in here and there of, they're changing the slogans on the back of their shirts to this and that, while, they're all in on this guy because everybody loved him and all this other stuff. But I think that Arkansas is poised for one of these wins in the SEC that we have talked about that they are due for. And I think that they do get it against LSU, man. I think Taylor Green, while he doesn't go, nuclear ballistic, I think he is efficient. He probably turns the ball over at least once, because that's just his MO. He's not going to go a game without turning the ball over, it seems like. Can LSU's defense rally? I don't know if they're going to have Whit Weeks or not. He's still out. He was still in a boot on Saturday. I'm not sure if that guy's going to even come back for the rest of the year with the way it looks. But I will take Arkansas, and I'll take them by a field goal in Death Valley. I think they rally behind Bobby Petrino and the whole thing that they're working with right now. They've been more productive in the last few weeks since he's been their head coach. And LSU coming off of a loss against Alabama, where, like you say, it was belt to ass in that game, and it's just one more nail in the coffin of their season. And how much belief do you have, regardless of who's coaching you? You didn't like Brian Kelly. I know this new guy gives you a breath of fresh air, but it's how many more weeks can we sustain just taking a beating and still believe in ourselves, So we'll see how it goes. I'll take Arkansas. I'm with you. Both got Hogs, and I don't know what's your spread on the game since you did pick them, though.
Yeah. Before I say what I'm taking them by, I just think, like, if you're Arkansas and you're evaluating film ahead of this matchup, you're going, man, I'm not really intimidated by a whole lot that LSU showed against Alabama outside of defensively, some things that that are definitely going to pose some problems for Arkansas, a team that turns the ball over more than any other team in the SEC. I don't know statistically if that's true, but I mean, sheesh, we've talked about that ad nauseum. They love turning the ball over. So I think that's why it's going to be an ugly game, and that's really going to be LSU's best chance. But offensively, if you can't do anything with it, it's meaningless. So that's why I feel like it's going to be a battle of who can put up the most points and just hope that their defense bends and not ultimately breaks. So I'm going to take Arkansas to win by 5 or 6 points. I'll take 6.
Okay. All right, so Arkansas, 2 field goals. I got them by a field goal, so we're right in the same realm there. So, if you're LSU, got to rally, but not this week. So, next game on the schedule. I've looked at both of our games at nauseum with the comparisons of rankings here and there or whatever, but it's a little late in the year to be looking at rankings of stats and everything. It's about what you've seen product-wise on the field. And Georgia and Texas in Athens, huge game.
Oh, we don't want to talk about Auburn and
well, I forgot about that. Thank you very much. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah. So we talked about interim head coaches and this and that and the other, what kind of fresh air they bring. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm absolutely shocked that Auburn put up 38 points on Vanderbilt. I really am. I'm blown away by it. I don't know. I'm going to let you give me the in-game analysis of what it looked like and everything like that. But it was, I mean, I'm telling you, we saw the score on the Jumbotrons inside the stadium. We were like, 38 points? Really? After coming off of a 3-point performance last week against Kentucky? And you go to overtime with Vanderbilt, who is one of the top, the upper teams in the SEC this year. Is crazy. So don't know what secret sauce they brought. It worries me even more for the game in 2 weeks that, here all of a sudden we're going to get some massive production on offense where they open the plant back up and here we go. And we got to play that game in Jordan-Hare. I don't know what to think about it, to be honest with you. So tell me what you thought. I mean, what happened?
I am now officially going to say that Vanderbilt is a fraud. Okay. I will say that because they are one-dimensional. It is all Pavia. Okay. That has become abundantly clear. Their defense is not good. I mean, we saw this 2 weeks ago against Texas. The number of missed tackles was atrocious. They're just not a physically sound defensive team at all. They don't really give me any kind of confidence that they can stop an offense that is potent, puts up a lot of points. And then the fact that after Texas, they go and play Auburn, a team that is reeling, having a very disappointing season, a team that hasn't been able to put up more than like low teens in terms of points, and they put up 38 on you. I don't know, man. I just look at that performance and the way that they played that game, and it's like, if you can limit Pavia, you've got a great chance of winning the game. I mean, that seems to be the formula. And they made one more play, but like to push them to overtime is pretty impressive for DJ Durkin and Auburn. The other thing too is just that fourth quarter, the moment where Vanderbilt had the ball, maybe a minute and a half left to go, and they're in the red zone and had an opportunity. It was 4th down to kick a field goal, which would have essentially put the game on ice. And they go and try and pick it up, like with Pavia. They went for it on 4th. I was like, Clark Lee, we've been singing your praises all season. We've been singing, the praises of Pavia, blah, blah, blah. Pavia and Clark Lee have really turned this program around. Well, that was in that moment, I was texting my dad going, what are we watching right now? What is this like horrible decision that is about to be made? And sure enough, they proceeded with it to just not kick that field goal. So again, virtually put the game on ice, and they decide to go for it and they don't get it. So now all the momentum is on the side of Auburn, and then they go downfield. They kick a field goal, I believe, to tie it and force it in overtime. I can't remember what the score was at that point, but I mean, I think they were maybe down by a touchdown, and they come back and tie it up and march right down the field. But anyways, that decision to not kick that field goal, I was just like, shaking my head because I'm going, Clark Lee, you are going to live to regret that. And you could tell right after that, and for the rest of the game, even as they were moving into overtime, you could see it on Clark Lee's face. Like, I may have just made one of the worst decisions I've made as a head coach at a program where, again, the margin for error is razor thin. You know, folks aren't expecting a lot, but here you are. A lot of spotlight's been put on Vanderbilt this season. You can't do things like that. Like, those are the ways you lose games. Like, those decisions lose games. And they're lucky that they escaped with a win when it felt like Auburn kind of played a lot better, to be completely honest. I think that Vanderbilt has proven that they are a one-dimensional team. If Pavia isn't there to save the day, make plays with his legs, or make enough plays throwing the ball, they're probably not winning that game. So at this point, you know, we're talking about who's getting into the playoffs, or, you know, who's got the makeup of a playoff team. You won't really be hearing me talk about Vanderbilt in that conversation moving forward.
Well, I agree with you. And, you know, the Texas proved that if you shut Pavia down, then that is, you know, the end all be all. Alabama proved it the week before with how they played against him and limiting his ability and forcing those mistakes. And I know Pavia had some mistakes on his own, but, you know, you shut that one aspect down of their production, and they don't have the athletes and the talent on that roster to make up the difference like everybody else, or I say everybody else, but the same way that Alabama and Georgia and A&M and all them can do. You know, hey, congratulations to Auburn. Really, I mean, you come out, you fire your coach. You're having a terrible season. You can't do jack squat on offense. You can't do jack squat anywhere else. The DJ Durkin's defense is the only reason that you have not lost every single game by 30 points. And he's your new interim head coach, and you come out and you put 38 points and take it to overtime against the top 15 SEC team. I mean, that's great, you know.
Coleman is cheat code for Auburn on offense.
Well, yeah, and we've talked about
that
guy.
The ball in his direction and hope that he makes a play, and more often than not, he is making that play. I mean, he exposed Vanderbilt defensively. Now, granted, he made just some freak plays that, like, the defense was in a great position. It was better offense. But yeah, that dude he's so talented. He is one of the more elite receivers in the SEC I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, and it's about time he had a breakout, right? Because, I mean, we talked about him last year and was like, where is this kid at? Because it was him and Ryan Williams were the 1 and 2 guys in the receiving core coming out in that class. And you had Ryan Williams all his attention, and Cam Coleman's in the shadows, and he's not doing nothing. But
and if you don't have a quarterback that can get in the ball, right? Or if you have an O-line that is just doing Olay every time a defense is trying to get through and sack Jackson Arnold, like, yeah, if you're Cam Coleman, you're like, man, I can't play quarterback. Like, I can't throw the ball to myself. So it was nice to see Ashton
Daniels. Yep.
Daniels, you know, come in there and be able to push the ball downfield and have a lot of chemistry with Cam Coleman, to where if you're an Auburn fan, you were like, all right, I know we lost another one, but hey, this season's over anyways. But it's nice to see that we can at least, you know, put points on the board.
Yeah, and that was going to be my point, is if you don't have time to throw to anybody, then it doesn't matter who you have out there. You could have Calvin Johnson on the edge, and it really doesn't make no difference for you. So
exactly.
Congrats to them. But to the task at hand, I led you in. I gave the intro to that game already. Texas and Georgia in Athens, huge spot. And we know all the analysis I've looked at, it's Texas' offense is within a couple spots of what Georgia's defense ranks and vice versa. So I'll give just quick, no deep analysis on it. Georgia wins the game. The spread is 5.5. Our games both have the same spread of 5.5, and I'll take Georgia by 5.5. Plus, because I'll take Georgia by a touchdown if we want to get specific, but I'll take them because of their ability that has been proven time and time again to win games deep in the fourth quarter and deep in the game to where when a play is need to be made, they make the play, and they are at home in Athens. It's going to be huge. I talked to people in Athens that work there, work for the school, all this stuff at the beginning of the year, and they're like, dude, we're looking more forward to the Texas game than we are the Alabama game. So it should be an absolute unreal environment. It should be a stage that is unmatched by any game this year, and it should be great, man. But I'll take Kirby to win. Keep that train rolling, kick Texas out of the conversation for the SEC championship game, and keep Georgia in the game. So I'll take Georgia by a field goal, or touchdown to cover the spread.
Okay. Yeah. I'm probably not going to add a whole lot of, deep analytical insight on this pick. I think that this all comes down to who you trust more. I've used that phrase before on previous picks, even like I think Georgia games, because this comes down to, who do you trust more at the quarterback position and who do you trust more from a coaching perspective, right? Like Kirby Smart is a better coach than Sark, right? We all can agree with that. And I honestly believe that this year may be Kirby's best coaching year since he's been at Georgia, because what he's been able to do with this team and specifically this defense, is pretty remarkable. Like to have won games or to have come back the way we have, it speaks to his ability to coach and, get our boys to believe that they're never out of a game, which is really big, especially as you're, coming out of the tunnel at halftime and you going, look, guys, we haven't played well at all. We need to just turn things around one play at a time. Let's get back into this game and give ourselves a chance to win. And we've been able to do that like week in, week out, outside of the Alabama game. But, even then, that was a really, really close loss. So I think that I personally trust more from what I've seen Gunnar Stockton be able to do this season than I've seen Arch Manning. Now, granted, the last couple of weeks for Texas, they've been able to get hot, get some, find some groove on offense. That is certainly something to circle. It's something I'll be keeping my eye on. I think that they'll be very competitive. It's Texas and Georgia, right? It's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be close. But I just believe that we will do enough. We'll be able to make more plays that, we'll be able to walk away with the win at home. I think that environment, too, is going to be a big, big focal point for us being able to win the game, because it's going to be an outstanding environment. It's going to be loud, hopefully having an impact on Texas's ability to, make plays at the line of scrimmage, right? Check in the line of scrimmage, right? Changing a play, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully that'll, convert or that will translate into a false start penalty or legal procedure, stuff like that. So I'll take Georgia to win. I like 6 points too. I don't want to say anything more than that because, again, I do feel like it'll be a close game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting. I'll be watching that one in 4K for sure, just to listen to the in-between timeout stuff and see the pregame and all that good stuff. So I think it'll be awesome. It's going to be absolutely electric. Would love to go to that game. If somebody was to hand me a pair, we'd go to that game. But yeah, I think it's going to be great. It's a huge game of the year. We're getting deep in November now, and you're about to lead up to rivalry week. So it's like put your best foot forward and put your last ditch effort on the field before you get to Georgia Tech and the rest of your schedule. So Alabama and Oklahoma. The more I've thought about this game, the more I'm not necessarily worried. However, I worry about all of them, just to preface that. But I'm not worried in the sense where I'm going into the game and sitting down in the chair going, we're going to lose this game. I'm just going to sit back and watch it and just see what happens. I don't think that we're going to lose it. However, I am going to sit back in the chair and just watch and see what happens, because the deeper dive that I did on it, the more evenly matched I see the stat lines being across the board. If you're looking at box score to tell you who's going to win the game and who's not. Now, Oklahoma has been playing better football over the last couple of weeks than they were a couple of weeks ago when they lost to Texas and did not have their best effort on the field, their best product. And Alabama, we played a little closer to the sun in a couple games. Had to sneak one away from South Carolina. We pulled that one out last week. I had to pull one out from Missouri the week, 2 weeks before that. So it's, where are we? We have to run the football. That is an utmost importance. We have been terrible at running the football this year. We don't get any push upfield. We do this zone blocking thing where we kind of moved east and west instead of north and south. Ty Simpson, just be what you have been over the last, entire season outside the Florida State game. And even the Florida State game, he was still good. I can't even say that. But, and defensively, we're finding our footing, man. We're getting more guys involved. Like the top-rated linebacker this year or this week was the second string outside linebacker for was Jahil Hill Green he was the top rated linebacker this week in the SEC. Sneaky game, but I don't know how they graded or anything else, but it's that type of production from everybody that you put in the game is what it's going to take to beat Oklahoma. You got to keep Mateer in the pocket. You cannot let him run around the field. Try to affect his timing on the balls, try to stop their run game. And then defensively from Oklahoma, it's get pressure on Ty Simpson, try to flush him out of the pocket. Don't flush him out to where he can run because he'll take advantage of that too. We've seen that week after week whenever he wants to scramble out. Put pressure on him, get him out of the pocket to where he has to throw in awkward angles and get him going to where he can't set his feet, he can't hit the open receiver. And scheme is going to be a huge thing. Is can Ryan Grubb create space quickly for the Alabama receivers to negate the Oklahoma pass rush? I believe he can do that. He has shown that he's been able to do that. Last week, LSU was bringing 6 and 7 guys a play, and we were still able to get stuff off quickly. It wasn't ultra efficient from Ty Simpson. He was missing some guys, but overall, I think we match up fairly evenly across the board against Oklahoma. It's going to be who can make the plays late in the game, who has less penalties, and who can control the time of possession. And time of possession, I think, will go to Oklahoma. The penalties will go to us. We've been the least penalized team in the last several weeks. We've done a really good job with discipline across the penalty margin, and turnover margin has been in our favor greatly over the past season. So I think we'll win. 5.5 is the spread. I don't think that we cover the spread, however. I think Alabama wins by 3 points. We are in Tuscaloosa at 3:30 game. Still going to be ultra live. Going to be electric. However, I don't think that we cover the spread. I think 5.5 points is a little much. I'll take 3. So Roll Tide by 3 points. But that's going to be a 4-quarter game, man. That's going to come down to a last possession, and I have no doubts that it's going to be very, very competitive all the way through.
Yep, I completely agree. I think that you guys do match. I think Oklahoma and Alabama match up really well. I think this is going to be one of the better games this entire season, just because a lot's riding on this, right? I mean, Oklahoma has to win out in order for them to have a chance to still make it into the playoffs. And, Alabama, this would be their first loss in the SEC should Oklahoma win. So there's a lot on this, right? I mean, I think that this game comes down to 2 things, and I want to dive into the first one a little bit more. I think this comes down to which team can score more points when they have the ball on offense. That sounds very obvious, but I think what I want to add to that is over the last couple of weeks, Alabama has been a little bit inconsistent when they do have the ball offensively, where they are having to go 3 and out, or, they get a quick first down, but then the drive stalls because of either a bad throw or just trying to get too cute from a play calling perspective. I know that that's something you've had your eyes on all season. Yep. And just some things that you're scratching your head if you're an Alabama fan, right? I'm talking to you, obviously. Like I know you know what I'm referring to, but it just makes you go, look, you don't have to do this. Like we don't just do what your identity is, and that's throw the ball, get the ball to
Charlie Bernard and Cuevas and all those guys.
Exactly. Like, and run the ball, right? We don't need to do all this, cute, fancy West Coast style Washington football that, is still embedded in DeBoer's DNA. And he's not going to abandon that completely, but I do feel like sometimes it does get in the way. So, and obviously Oklahoma needs to make sure that they capitalize on every chance that they get offensively. So that's a big thing to watch for, is who can have more success offensively, which ties directly into the time of possession factor as well. So that'll be huge. And then the other thing, and this is really, really key because Alabama's had so much success with this as of late. I mean, the entire season, I don't know what you guys are at statistically in terms of the turnover margin goes, but whoever wins that turnover battle in this game is probably going to win the game. So those are the 2 things I'll be watching for. I think defensively, Oklahoma will be able to, put Ty Simpson in some uncomfortable situations, I still think that he'll be able to find a lot of success because he's a very capable quarterback. And, other way around, I think that, you guys will be able to put material in situations that, he doesn't want to be in. He doesn't want to run for his life on every single series, right? He'd love to throw the football and be able to push, the ball downfield that way. So those are some of the key elements. I will take Alabama because it's a home game, and I just trust them more with their DNA, their identity, who they are. So I'll take them to win, but again, close. I wouldn't be surprised if they win by 2 or 3 points.
Okay. We're plus 15 in the turnover margin, so that's top 3 in the country as it stands right now. Last time I looked, anyways, which has been big because the last, I think, 2 years before Saban was gone, and then last year with DeBoer, we were either only like plus in the single digit plus, and then or we were negative, so we were turning the ball over bad and not taking advantage. So either way, yeah, gotta have some turnovers, man. We got to pick material off, got to force a fumble here and there, and I'd love another strip sack from Jan Zapier. He was a freaking machine all over the field last Saturday. So I love it. It's going to be great. Another stress-free weekend. I'm sure I'm going to get some out-of-pocket text from me about the third quarter when, we're trying to do the same shit over and over again and it doesn't work, and try to run the ball and we just slam into our own offensive lineman because we get no push. But either way, if we win the game, we win the game. And I think if we win this game, I believe that all but locks up our spot in the SEC championship game. I know we're not doing East and West anymore, so that little stat line is, you win the game, you clinch the West or whatever is gone. But we only have Auburn left to go, and I believe that we have a tiebreaker over the next 3 teams that are down the board of who will make it into the SEC championship game outside of A&M. Obviously, a lot to play for. Huge margin to play for. I really don't want to play in the SEC championship game, but, if we're going to play in it, we might as well go and win the sumbitch, right? So, yeah, love it. I think it's going to be a huge weekend. You got A&M or Mississippi State and Missouri. You got A&M and Florida, right? Was that who they're playing?
No, so Florida plays.
Who was it? Ole Miss. Sorry,
Ole
that
Miss.
was what it was. And A&M, they're playing whoever they were playing. I can't even remember now. South Carolina. That's who it was.
Yep.
So
and Mississippi State, Missouri.
Yep. So Mississippi State, Missouri. You got Florida, Ole Miss, and you got South Carolina A&M, and those are your honorable mentions, I guess. A&M's the only. Well, I'll take that back. You got Florida is a double-digit favorite, or Ole Miss is double-digit favorite, and so is A&M. So really the next closest game you got is Mississippi State and Missouri, and that might be kind of fun to watch too. So that'll be a night game. But anyways, looking forward to it, man. We got huge matchups, man. There's implications all over the place with this week. So bring the juice, man. Got to have it. Got to have it.
Absolutely.
But appreciate you guys following. Love all the comments from the videos that I posted personally on Saturday because, like I say, Justin doesn't have any control over the TikTok, so he has no clue what I'm talking about. But all the LSU people saying, laughing at, we're excited to win that game. You damn right we're excited to win that game. We beat your ass, and I love it. Every year, I don't care if I win by a point or 1,000. It's a win against LSU. So appreciate you guys following all the socials, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. We appreciate it. Getting down to the deep, nitty gritty, big and deep. So as every week, roll tide.
Go Dogs, baby. Appreciate y'all.
All right, we are out.